Welcome po sa ating lahat. Hopefully ay makatulong po kami sa inyong preparation for your concept proposal and also for your full-blown proposal. So let me share my topic is ensuring research compliance to ethics, risk assessment, and regulatory requirements. I will not discuss po yung detalyado about especially on ethics. We have the regulatory committee on checking or meron tayong ethics review for this purpose. So akin pong i-discuss lang ay yung ating mga kailangang i-prepare para masabit natin sa call for proposal this year. Okay? So the first one is the eligibility of the proponent. No? So dito ko po sinimulan kasi tingnan po muna natin kung sino yung mga eligible na mag-submit sa ating call for proposal this year. So for eligibility, must be a Filipino citizen, subject to applicable laws, must hold a regular position for both government and private institution, or a DOST SNT fellow. For the eligibility, no, so Filipino citizen, but for NRCP call, no, kailangan po ay tayo ay member ng NRCP. And for the ceiling, no, na binibigay natin sa mga members natin, for associate members, it's 2 million per year. Okay? And for regular member, wala naman po tayong ceiling. So titingnan na lang po, evaluate ng governing board kung okay po yung inyong na-propose na budget. No? Pero for regular members, wala po tayong ceiling. Just for associate members. So, chine-check din po ng ating secretariat upon your submission yung inyo pong accountability. So, dapat po wala tayong accountabilities. Must not have any existing accountability with the OST and its agencies, particularly technical and financial reports. Okay? So ito pong mga nakalagay dito sa presentation ko, lifted from the guidelines ng DOST. No? And then for the clearance naman po, must not have been found guilty of an administrative or criminal case, including those under appeal. So tingnan po natin, no, if meron tayong appeal or if we are found guilty. Kapag naman hindi pa po found, it's okay lang po, no? And then the last one is credentials. Ito po yung mga hinahanap din ng funding agency, specifically NRCP, proof of capability, certificate of employment, track record, and endorsement of his or her institution. Okay? So, dun po sa proof of capability, yung CV po natin, no, kapag isinubmit natin, tinitingnan po, no? Ine-evaluate din po if you are capable of leading the project. No? So kung meron po dyan, makikita rin po namin doon yung track record ninyo. Kung meron na po kayong mga previews ng mga studies doon sa pinopropose niyo na topic. Okay? Certificate of Employment, tinitingnan po namin kung kayo talaga ay may affiliation. No? Kasi nakalagay po rin dito na dapat ay kayo po ay regular position doon sa inyong institution. And then dapat permado po nung head ng agency ninyo, no? Para may accountability po yung ating mga institutions. Okay? So para makita nyo lang po kung ano yung mga kailangan nating i-prepare, no? This is just a list of checklist, no? Um, list of documents that you need to prepare. The first one is the endorsement of the head of the agency, no? For us, no, sa UP, medyo marami pong pinagdadaanan. So kailangan nyo pong before siya before po mag-end or deadline noong submission, siguro you can allot around 1 week para hanggang mapirmahan at ma-endorse ng inyong head of the agency, no? So, the next one is proof of permanency, as I've mentioned earlier, the appointment or certification document from your institution, no? Kung kayo po ay humahawak ng regular position. And then, DOSE Form 1, Detailed Program Proposal, kung yung pong inyong ipopropose ay isang program. Kung hindi naman po isang program at siya ay project lang po, you can use DOST Form 2, no? Detailed Project Proposal Form. So dito po medyo nagkakamali po ng interpretation yung ibang nagsasubmit. Kasi po sinasabi nila na program yung isasubmit nila, kaya yung DOST Form 1 lang isinasubmit nila. So hindi po ganoon. Kapag program po yung isasubmit ninyo, you need to submit also yung Form 2. So for example, I have one program and that program have three projects. So I need to submit the Form 1 and 3 DOST Form 2. No? Tigi-isa po yung tatlong projects. Okay? So, wag po tayong malito doon at sana po ay technicalities po kasi minsan hindi naisasubmit. So, naisasubmit yung Form 2 kaya hindi po sila nako-consider. Okay? And then for fifth one, scientific basis, conceptual or theoretical framework. So kahit po ito ay nakalagay na doon sa detailed project proposal, inihiwalay pa rin po natin ito ng document, no? So, and then for number 6, the OSC Form 4, this is the LIB. So I think it will be discussed later, no, para mas mag-guide po tayo kung paano mag-prepare ng ating LIB. And then for DOSC Form 5, i-discuss ko po somehow ito sa last part ng aking presentation. So we have the work plan, expected outputs, risks, and assumptions. And then don't forget to submit also your GAD score form. So meron po tayong Excel file for this one. I-evaluate nyo lang po kada question doon. Tapos nag-automatic na po siya ng score. Okay? And then you also need to submit your CV, no? Ito po ay nasa Form 11 din. So hindi ko po siya i-discuss dito. Pero makikita niyo na po siya doon sa the download ninyo ng mga different forms, no? Sa DOST website. So, doon nagre-reflect sino po ba yung mga project staff natin, ilang percent yung inaalat natin kada project staff and the project leader, and uh, ano yung kanyang salary, no? So nagre-reflect din po doon. Okay? And then other supporting documents, please submit if you already have partnerships or collaboration, letter of commitment, mga permits, submit nyo po kasi mas tumataas yun po yung chance na ma-consider po yung inyong proposal. Okay? So nakikita po namin na meron na po talaga kayong initiative na mag-collaborate at magawa talaga po yung inyong pinopropose na project. Okay. For our regulatory clearances, no? So we have, this is very important po, ethics clearance. So this is mandatory for studies involving human subjects approved by a recognized research ethics committee. So minsan po nakakalimutan po itong ethics clearance at ito po ay kino-consider din po namin sa pag-evaluate at sa approval ng inyong pong project proposal, no? Kailangan din po ma-submit yung informed consent form and case report form. This is required for the human subject research. For clearance, no, from the DOST Biosafety Committee, kapag meron po kayong biosafety concern, no, it shall be required for research proposals involving the use of GMOs or yung mga genetically modified organisms under contained use. So, naandyan po yung mga experiments done in laboratories, greenhouse. So, kapag po meron po kayong mga GMOs, you need to secure yung biosafety clearance, no? Kapag meron naman po kayong mga animals, no, animal care and use, you also need to secure clearance, no, required if the study involves animal subjects, no. For Bureau of Animal Industry or BI clearance, this is used for specific studies involving animal products or services. So ito po yung mga pwede nyo pong i-consider na or tignan doon sa inyong proposal kung kailangan nyo pong mag-secure ng mga clearances na ito. Okay? So for projects involving human and animal subjects or GMOs, fund release is subject to the submission to the funding agency of clearances from the approving authorities such as BAI, no, Ethics Review Board and Biosafety Committee. So hindi po namin inire-release yung fund kapag wala po nitong mga clearances na ito, no? Kung nakita po namin that you need to undergo ethics review, no, at hindi po kayo nakakuha ng clearance, no, ay hindi po namin ma-release yung inyong fund, no. So for project involving indigenous people's rights and interest, so yung mga IPs po natin, an appropriate free, prior and informed consent or yung ating po sinasabing FPIC shall be submitted to the funding agency. So kailangan nyo rin pong isubmit yon sa amin. So for projects involving human subjects, submission of clearances should be within 1 year after its approval. So kapag meron po kayong approval, magiging valid po siya within 1 year, no, from its approval, no, while those involving animal subjects shall be given 6 months to comply. So magkaiba po kapag human subjects it's 1 year after its approval, and for animal subjects it's 6 months na pwede po kayo mag-comply. So tingnan nyo pong maigi if you need the clearances from the BAI, from Ethics Review Board and Biosafety Committee. Pero very common po itong ating ethics review, no? So just to give you an overview of the ethical considerations that we need to secure for our research, no? Ito po yung aking naging reference, the National Ethical Guidelines for Research Involving Human Participants. Just an example po, no? Kapag meron po kayong human participants sa inyong research, ito yung pwede nyo pong i-consider. To ensure quality research, ang nababanggit po dito sa ating reference, the quality of research derives from both scientific and ethical considerations. So hindi lang po scientific yung kino-consider talaga natin, but still we really need to consider yung ethical portion, no? So it should be ethical yung ating mga research na ginagawa. Such considerations include appropriate delineation of the roles and responsibilities of various stakeholders. So we need to identify ano ba yung responsibility ng researcher, ano ba yung responsibility noong ating funding agency or yung ating sponsor, ano ba yung role ng Research Ethics Committee, and acceptable instruments commonly used in research. So dapat ma-validate natin, makita natin, or ma-check natin yung mga instruments or yung mga tools na gagamitin natin if we are considering these ethical considerations. Okay? So para mabigyan din po kayo ng overview ng ating review process, this is for the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board, no? Nakuha ko po ito doon sa reference natin na pinakita kanina. So the Research Ethics Committee conducts the ethical review of research proposals involving human participants based on an evaluation of the research activities described in the protocol and protocol-related documents. So yung ating mga protocols po, kailangan natin siyang isubmit dun sa Ethics Review Board. Okay? These are submitted to the REC for approval before study implementation. So bago po tayo mag-implement, kailangan po muna nating makakuha ng or mag-conduct ng ethics review or maibigay natin sa Research Ethics Committee. Okay? Since the quality of the ethical review is a significant concern, the REC shall have a manual of SOPs that shall clearly describe all areas of its work. For the initial and continuing review of protocols, the REC shall indicate a reasonable time frame in their SOPs for completing the review process and provide the proponent a written, signed, and dated feedback on its review, preferably within 2 to 4 weeks after receipt of the submitted documents. So nakalagay po dito 2 to 4 weeks. Pero dahil po minsan madami rin po naman na naibibigay no ng mga documents o nagpapa-review, medyo tumatagal din po talaga itong ating review process for the ethics review uh, clearance. The review must be efficient, transparent, and timely. The ethical review of protocols involving several sites may be done as a joint review of a group of PHREB accredited RECs, such as the DOA Single Joint Research Ethics Board, and provided the review is conducted according to the SOPs approved by PHREB. Okay? So, dito po ay yung ating dinidescribe dito yung Philippine Health po no sa na Research Ethics Board. So kapag naman po ibang consideration, pwede po kayong pumunta sa ibang or even you already have the institution no na sa mga institution ninyo ng mga ethics review board. Okay? And then, ito po yung mga documents that you need to prepare para po ma-review po yung inyong proposal. No? So, application for review addressed to the REC, which may be a formal letter or part of an application form as described in the REC's SOP. So, kailangan nyo muna po magbigay ng formal letter that you are asking na ma-review po yung inyong proposal. Next is the clearance from technical or ethical reviews from other committees. If you already have the ethical review committee in your institution, you can use that. And even the technical aspect of your proposal, kung meron po kayong nakapag-review na doon, you can also submit. No? And then the third one, the research protocol must include the title, significance of the study, literature review, objective of the study, methodology and procedures, description of the study, study population, exclusion and inclusion criteria, data analysis, and ethical consideration. So dapat ito pong mga ito ay nakikita no, doon sa inyong isasubmit for ethics review. Okay? So para po doon sa ating ethical consideration, it shall state that the relevant international national guidelines will be used as a reference in the study and include ethical issues such as anticipated risk and potential benefits. So, kung meron po tayong nakikitang mga risk, kailangan ilagay po natin doon at kung paano po siya mami-minimize. And then, kailangan din po nating malaman bakit ba natin kinakonduct yung research doon sa isang area na yon, baka meron talagang target tayo na benefits na makukuha. No? So, maganda po na ma-highlight din natin yon. So, protection of confidentiality of data and privacy of the research participants, vulnerability of research participants, management of adverse events and anticipated problems, and how informed consent will be obtained. So, basically, kung paano nyo po i-conduct yung inyong research or even yung inyong mga survey doon sa isang area at kung paano nyo po mapapanatili na confidential yung mga results or yung mga data na makukuha nyo from them. Okay? Fourth one, the informed consent and assent documents must be written both in English and in local language appropriate to the level of understanding of the research participant. So kung sa Bisaya po, kailangan naiintindihan nila. So dapat may translation po. No? Kasi kailangan nauunawaan nila kung ano yung pinapagawa sa kanila. Okay? And then you also need to submit the study tools, the questionnaires, case report form, posters, advertisements for recruitment. So china-check yan po ng Ethics Review Board. Study drug or medical device information like research or brochures, published literature, and medical device manufacturing designs, kung ito po ay relevant at kung meron po talaga kayong gagamitin. And also the CV of researcher and co-researchers, which will also include relevant training and proof of their GCP training. So ito po yung good clinical practice kasi po kailangan capable po talaga yung ating mga researchers mag-conduct ng ganong klaseng research, no? And then eighth, uh, the eighth one is the statement of on presence or absence of conflict of interest of the researcher. So we need to make sure na wala po tayong conflict of interest. Number nine is the information regarding funding, sponsors, institutional affiliation, other potential conflicts of interest. So baka yung nag-sponsor nito ay merong COI. So you also need to divulge kung sino yung magfa-fund nitong inyong research. If you already have existing MOA, ito mga research agreements, MTA, IDE, DTA, pwede nyo rin po siyang isubmit. No? And yung budget for your study at saka yung sa protocol na gagamitin ninyo, kailangan malaman din po. And then I think the last one, the researcher shall submit itong mga documents na ito sa REC for review. Okay? So meron naman po tayong exemption, no? Exempt from review is the term used to denote that a protocol does not need to undergo full or expedited review after a preliminary assessment by a designated member of the REC. Exempt from review is a decision made by the REC. Okay, so pwedeng magsabi na exempted siya for the review, yung protocol na gagamitin ninyo. Okay, so pero ang decision na yon ay nasa REC. Okay? So if yung inyo pong project ay sa tingin ninyo, project proposal ay exemption, so ito yung mga nakalagay no doon sa ating reference, provided that the protocols do not involve more than minimal risk or harm. So we need to make sure na hindi or minimal yung risk o yung harm doon sa ating study area. The following may be considered by the REC for exemption from review. Ano po ba itong mga kinoconsider nilang exemption? The first one is the protocols for institutional quality assurance purposes, evaluation of public service programs, public health surveillance, educational evaluation activities, and consumer acceptability test. Sa research naman po na ginagawa natin, research that only includes interactions involving survey procedures, interview procedures, or observation of public behavior, including visual or auditory recording, if the following criteria are met. So, pwede po ito ma-exempt kung itong criteria sa baba, yung A and B, ay mamimit po natin. No? There will be no disclosure of the human participant responses outside the research that could responsibly place the participants at risk of criminal or civil liability or be damaging to their financial standing, employability, or reputation. So, hindi dapat po siya makalabas doon sa ating research study. Okay? The investigator records the information obtained in such a manner that the identity of the human participant cannot readily be ascertained directly or through identifiers linked to the participant. So, hindi siya pwedeng ma-identify talaga yung ating, kung meron tayong mga ika-conduct na survey, so dapat siya ay yung integrity ng data na andon at saka noong mismo sinesurvey natin na tao. Okay? So dapat walang makalabas po na information, no? Na makakasira, no, doon sa ating mga respondents. Okay? And then the last one na pwedeng i-consider natin for exemption is the protocols that involve the use of publicly available data or information. Kung ito po ay nasa public domain na, okay lang na exempted na po siya for the review. Okay? So now I will be showing yung DOST Form 5. Doon po sa DOST Form 5 po natin, andun yung project work plan, expected outputs, at saka risk and assumption. Okay? So, ganito po yung itsura ng ating Form 5. So, usually nagkakamali po yung ating mga project proponents, no? Kasi ito lang po yung fini-fill out nila. So, sa baba po noong Form 5, meron pa pong mga kailangan yung i-fill out. No? So, this one, ito po yung example lang no, from our own project. So, I'm the project leader for this one. So, nakalagay po dun sa unang column yung mga objectives po natin. No? Sa objectives po natin, nakalagay po dyan yung weight. No? So, like for example, you have the objective 1, produce adsorbent. Objective 2 is produce natural coagulant. Objective 3, synthesize. So, nakalagay lahat ng objectives ninyo ng inyong uh, project. And then kada objective ninyo, kailangan nyo pong ilagay yung target activities. And from the target activities, kailangan nyo pong ilagay ano po yung ma-accomplish nyo na from that activity. So, dapat kada objective, meron kayong activities na ginagawa. And kada activity, kailangan nyo pong ilagay kung ilang percent, no? Like for this one, 15% yung inilagay ko sa objective 1. And I have two activities. So yung 15% ko po ay nilagay ko po sa first one 5% and do sa number 2 is 10%. That is 15%. And then ilalagay ko po dito sa year 1, year 2, year 3 kung ilang percentage po yung kailangan kong i-accomplish sa year 1, year 2, or year 3. Like for example, ito pong objective 1 at ang aking activity 1, kailangan ko po siyang gawin sa first year ko pa lang. So sa quarter 2, no, sa quarter 2 ko po, 20% lang po yung aking i-accomplish. Sa quarter 3, 40% at quarter 4, 40%. Okay? So, ang total ng aking year 1 is 100%, which is 5% na nilagay ko do sa activity ko. Okay? Ganun din po yung mga sa susunod. Okay? So dito po sa pangalawang activity, 25% kasi yung another 50% ay nasa kabilang year. Okay? So ganun po yung pag compute po natin sa ating percentage accomplishment. Okay? Dito sa ating work plan. Hanggang uh, makita nyo na po dito sa dulo no, na 100% yung inyong mga activities. Okay? So, dito rin po sa taas, kailangan yung ilagay kung ilang percentage yung nakaalat kada year. So, 100% of course for for your whole project. So, ang nilagay ko po dito sa year 1, 22.5% po yung aking kailangang i-accomplish. Sa year 2, 47.5%. And year 3 is 30%. So, kapag inad po natin yan, 100% for my whole project. Okay po? So, don't forget, ilagay po lahat ng objectives. Kada objectives, dapat lahat merong activities at lagyan nyo po ng percentage kada activity hanggang maka 100% po kayo kada activity. Okay. Doon sa baba po noon, nandun po yung mga expected outputs. So, nandyan po yung 6 P's po natin, publication, patents, products, people services, places and partnership, and policy. No? So, dito po ang nakalagay lang po sa akin, I'm promising 3 publications. So, yung year 1, I'm promising 1 publication. For year 2, 1. And year 3, 1. Okay? And then, meron po akong patent. Meron din po akong product. So, may mga cases po tayo ng mga project proposal na wala naman po silang patent from their project. Okay lang po yun. Meron din pong iba na mga projects walang product, okay lang din naman po yun. Okay? Basta ma-justify po ninyo kung bakit wala naman po kayong makukuha or mapoproduce na product or patent from your proposed project. Okay? And then people services, pwede nyo pong diyang i-include yung mga ika-capacitate ninyo. Like for example, if you have partnership with the LGU, ilan po ba yung mga staff nila na ika-capacitate ninyo? So pwede nyo pong ilagay dyan. Okay? And then places and partnerships, kung meron po kayong partners na universities, na LGU, na NGO, kailangan lang po ay makapag-establish kayo ng MOU, MOA with them. No? And then, because NRCP ay towards policy making, no, policy recommendation, so usually po we encourage yung ating mga proponents na magkaroon ng isang policy recommendation or policy brief, no? As one of their deliverables. Nakalagay din po dyan yung mga potential impacts, social impacts, economic impacts. Okay? And then the last one is yung risk management natin. So medyo mahaba po ito, no, yung aming inilagay na mga risk management plan. So kada objective, meron po tayong risk na ilalagay. So you have here, the first column is the objective, and then ano yung mga potential risk na nakikita ninyo, no? And then kailangan nyo po siyang i-evaluate based on sorry, doon sa ating impacts on timeline, at saka impact on budget and probability. So, kailangan i-rate nyo po ba yung impact niya sa timeline if it's low, high, or medium. So, kayo po yung mag-evaluate niyan. And ano po yung reason kung bakit nasabi ninyo po na low yung impact niya sa timeline and low yung impact niya sa budget and low yung impact niya sa or yung probability niya dito sa yung probability na ah, mangyari yung risk na yon, no? And then kapag nakita ninyo ay may risk talaga siya, you need to propose a mitigating measure, no? Mitigation or action plan para somehow ma-mitigate ninyo kung ano yung na-identify ninyo na risk. So yung iba medium, no, kapag nakita nyo ay ito ay papabagal ng aking project or magkakaroon ako ng problema. Pero still ang importante po dito is nakikita po namin kung alam nyo po kung paano siya ma-mitigate or kung mangyari man siya, ano yung action plan ninyo. Okay? So medyo madami po siya kasi lahat po ng objectives meron po tayong mga risk na na-identify. So you have the objective 2, objective 3, objective 4, objective 5. Okay? And then until objective 6. Ako po ay may until objective 6 and just make sure na pirmahan nyo po yung form na yon at pirmado rin po siya ng head of the agency. Nakakalimutan po kasi itong pirmahan ng head of the agency. So, yun lang po, just a reminder po, no, lahat po na ang mga requirements natin, yung listahan po kanina na pinakita ko, dapat po tama yung mga documents na ginagamit natin. Kasi minsan, nate-technical po tayo. Minsan hindi na consider yung ating proposal. Doon pa lang po sa first stage kasi hindi po natin sinasubmit yung mga appropriate documents or hindi tayo nagsasubmit ng required documents. Okay po, so I think that's all for my presentation. Thank you very much. And if you have questions, tanungin nyo lang po sa amin dito sa NRC so we can help you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Eusebio. Yes, we actually have a couple of questions. Firstly, from UPLB, Carla Melodeyar. Would it be possible to include ethics review cost in the proposal and have it reimbursed later when approved? Sagutin ko na lang din po, ma'am, kasi po yung sa LID, it includes the implementation period and the validity of when you can spend the money. So assuming that you will have your ethics review and ethics implementation period, hindi po yun pwedeng ma-charge sa project. Kasi po ang resibo ay hindi pa po covered nung implementation period. Clarification regarding studies with indigenous people. Do we need to get a clearance prior to the approval of the DOST project? I think as discussed earlier, post-approval naman po, pero before the implementation. Tama, Dr. Arsino?
Yes, Vincent.
Thank you po. Is there limits of involvement sa DOST projects as a program leader, a project leader, and a project staff? Dito po sa recently released guidelines ng DOST last November 2025, program leadership is a maximum of 2 per program leader, maximum of 3 per project leader, and a maximum of 2 projects or project staff involvement. But also this is one lang po per agency of the DOST. So you can have multiple ones, but with different agencies. Pwede po ba maka-request ng list ng REC approved by the FRED? Is there an existing list, Doc RC, or is this something we can work on? Is this something we can
Yeah, I think we can. As of now, I think we don't have. Pero I think they are also very concerned din, no, kung paano siya ginagawa. So that's why maybe we can assist them if they think that yung kanilang projects needs ethics review. No? So siguro yun muna yung pwede nating ibigay to sa ating mga members, no, na
Sige po.
assistance.
Sige po. Thank you, Doc RC. Future steps on how to further assist our members. For obtaining ethics clearance sa DOST, granted research, pwede po ba mag-secure sa any school na accredited with FREB? Yes, earlier. Like dito lang sa institution namin, or Jesu College, yes sir, pwede na po. Under places and partnerships, yung one sa lahat ng quarters, refer to the duration of the MOA from Janilo Garcia. Yung one po per quarter is the number of MOA, the number of memorandum MOAs that will be accomplished that quarter. Correct, sir? And the duration will depend on the nature of the MOA. Kung ang MOA niyo po ay for the sustainability aspect of the project, then it can go as long as even after the project is closed. Pero kung ang MOA niyo po ay for the completion of the objectives and the goals of the project, pwede po siyang co-terminus. I can't think of a different word, co-terminus with the project. And then the RC, I think, last one, is there a more quantitative basis for the risk rating?
Quantitative basis for?
For the risk rating.
Again?
For the risk, I think this is for the risk assumptions.
Quantitative for the risk assessment. Ito yung nasa protocol natin. I mean, ito yung nire-require lang sa atin, no? So, we just need to evaluate kung yung risk ba ay low, medium, or high. So, hindi siya quantitative na ilang percent. No? So, yun lang naman yung, kasi mas mahirap yun. So, just evaluate it if it's low, low risk, high risk, or medium risk.
Sige po. Maybe one last from Northwestern Samar State University, I want to say, from Archie Lauderes. What if the survey was already conducted but did not secure an ethics requirement because before not needed pa and it is required now for publication? Please advise po on what to do. Thank you.
So medyo mahirap yon kasi dapat before you conduct the project or your sabi nga natin, before the implementation, you need to secure the ethics review clearance. But in that case, baka kasi ang nasa isip ng ating proponent ay hindi naman siya or exempted siya at hindi siya na-evaluate kaagad. So, yun ay i-verify natin, no? Kasi magiging unethical siya kasi nag-conduct kayo ng project without appropriate clearance from the Ethics Review Board. Okay, so yan. Tingnan na rin lang natin. So, Doc Eric, go ahead. Especially biology kasi si Doc.
May I, hindi, naalala ko kasi yan, may I add to that because during our Cascade in Mindanao, actually one of our participants asked the same question, no? This is a case-to-case basis. Depende dun sa study na ginawa, there might be some loopholes in the ethics needs. However, as much as possible, kasi po pwede naman na if the participant, for example, has already signed a waiver, for example, during the time that the study was being done, then that could be a possible loophole to that. But that depends on the kind of study that you did. No, sometimes that is okay. And sometimes it is not. So that depends on the nature of your study. So you really, well, again, as much as possible, as Sir RC has said, no, you really have to secure any permits before you implement a project because it becomes a problem afterwards, whether that be publication, awarding, no? Nagkaroon na kami na experience na there were no permits secured with numerous publications. So, na-disqualify siya sa mga awards. So, the best, again po, the best po na dapat natin gawin ay mag-secure ng ating mga permits. So, yun lang po, Sir RC. Thank you.
And then it's very high possibility na hindi na kayo mabibigyan talaga ng clearance if nakonduct nyo na at hindi siya dumaan talaga. So before you conduct your research, make sure na tingnan yung maigi kung merong portion na kailangan talaga mag-undergo ng ethics review. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Eusebio and Dr. Rizzo. And just one last announcement before we move on to session 5. My fellow project manager here at the NRCT, Don Angelo, linked a website for the list of accredited RACs. It's ethics.healthresearch.ph. It's in the chat box for anyone who wants to access. And so let's move on to, we'll come back to any questions you may have later. Our speaker is Dr. Eric Zeus C. Rizzo.
Grabe pala yung exposure ko for today. Late ko na na-realize na 2 session pala yung akin. But anyway, so there you go. For me, I think naibigay sa akin yung medyo, controversial. Not really controversial, but a little bit slightly complicated perhaps, or one of the major reasons that sometimes a proposal becomes rejected or even approved, no? So ito po yung ating mga budget, no? So my topic for today would be preparing a justifiable and compliant budget for the UST proposals, and of course the proposal evaluation process. And saan po kaya tayo nagkukulang at ano po ba yung matututunan natin sa ating mga na-experience na technical panel and governing board or governing council evaluations if you're gonna submit for other councils. But hopefully we receive your proposals here in NRCT. So, ano ba yung ibig sabihin namin ng justifiable? What do we mean by justifiable and compliant? What I think my budget is already okay for what my proposal is. But what do we mean by justifiable and compliant? So as I go through my presentation for the DOST budget preparation, DOST proposal budget preparation, maiintindihan po natin ano bang ibig sabihin ng justifiable and compliant. So for the project concept proposal actually is meron lang tayong nilalagay na estimated budgetary requirements. However, I suggest po and I highly advise that for those who will be submitting their concept proposal this coming March is hopefully they have already also prepared a detailed LIB para po maganda na yung nakalagay na estimated budgetary requirements dun pa lang sa ating concept proposal na isasubmit this coming March. So, yung budget po is not just there as something to gauge kung magkano ba yung ating gagastusin, but it is also a technical document because your budget is the reflection of your project design. Now, we look at your budget, nakamatch ba siya dun sa inyong project design? And as I have said during the start of my talk, it is one of the most common reason why most proposal revisions most proposals are revised or even rejected. So ano bang hinahanap ng government or ng DOST when it comes to your budget? That would be on necessity. Is the budget really necessary? Is it reasonable within the working amount? And is it aligned with your objectives? Actually, as I go through the presentation, paulit-ulit po ito na mababanggit ko na pagdating sa budget. Is it necessary? Is it reasonable? And is it aligned to your objectives? Now, your budget should always be output-driven. It should be time-bound because yung ating paggastos po ay binabantayan din ng ating mga project managers. Nagagastos ba natin siya based on the work plan that we have proposed during the start of the project implementation? And it should be policy compliant. So for those, especially in the government and of course in private universities, we must also be knowledgeable on the different policies governing the DOST proposed the DOST GIA guidelines as well. Again, ito po yung usually problema, nakakalimutan po ng ating mga project proponents or mga nagpo-propose po ng ating projects, no? There should be no padding or generic line items just to achieve, for example, you wish to, for example, to propose a 5 million budget. But it seems like hindi mo naman mapupuno yung 5 million. Pero para lang mapuno yung 5 million, naglalagay po tayo ng mga items na hindi natin kailangan. Hanggat bawal po yun na hindi po tayo dapat naglalagay ng padding or generic line items. And of course, if it's not in the methodology, it should not be in the budget. Kung wala po yan sa objectives, wala yan sa methodology, wala yan sa output, dapat po wala siya sa ating budget. So ito po yung ating line item budget na sinasubmit sa DOST. So yung line item budget po is currently, I think it's still DOST Form 6. So it's a detailed budgetary breakdown of the financial assistance that you are requesting. So it reflects your direct cost, your indirect cost, and your counterpart funding. So ibe-breakdown po natin itong mga items na ito as we go through my presentation para mas maintindihan nyo po kung ano ba yung kailangan yung ilagay dito sa ating LIB. But I'll just go through with it kasi po yung ating pine-prepare naman currently is for our capsule or concept proposal. So ano ba yung isang well-planned line item budget? So of course, yung ating well-planned line item budget should contribute to the successful implementation of your project. At isa pa po ito na siguro dapat natin i-emphasize para po smoothly ma-monitor yung financial aspect ng inyong project, para po yung mga project managers or yung mga financial managers ng ating different council and especially NRCP ay hindi nahihirapan. It also helps prevent mistakes in your procurement and of course mitigate risk of disallowances. Again po, even if it's in the LIB, if you think it's in the LIB, but your accountant in your university or DOST says that this is disallowed, it is disallowed. Minsan nag-justify pero madalas hindi po yan na-approve. So again, yung LIB po natin has a big chance for your yung malaki po yung contributing factor niya for the acceptability ng inyong funding agency and of course ano ba yung appropriateness niya dun sa project. A well-planned line item budget, of course, remember that we are asking governments for funds. So this is to maximize the use of government funds. Tandaan po natin, resources are limited, so dapat well-planned po ang ating LIB. Now, ito po yung mga general legal basis of our line item budget. Alam ko po medyo marami siya, but all scientists, researchers, and anyone who wishes to propose a project for DOST, dapat po ay familiar tayo sa mga documents na ito. One is yung ating DOST GIA guidelines. Meron na pong bago. So yung DOST Memorandum Circular number 3, series of 2025. Then ito po, lagi po natin dito madalas nagkakaroon ng errors. Yung prescribed salary rate po ay dapat tinitingnan natin. Tatingnan na rin natin yung DOST Special Order number 958 series of 2024 po. 2027 po yan. Apologies for the typographical error. So mababago na po siya soon. So kailangan binabantayan po natin yung mga DOST special orders on the salary rates. Then we have the guidelines on the grant of honoraria, which is DOST Memorandum Circular number 1, series of 2009. Wala pa pong update dito. The Government Accounting Manual, mahalaga po ito